Today's case is probably one of the most bizarre, unsolved missing persons case I've ever heard of. In 2005, a district attorney went missing. There is a lot of theories as to what has happened to him. At first, it was possible that he just ran off, possibly with another woman. But soon his laptop would be found in a river. What was on that laptop? And so many theories have come out about what happened to Ray Gricar. We are going to dive right in. Welcome to Crime Time with Connie. I am obviously Connie, and hello. If you are new here, I sit down every week and I talk about a true crime case. Alright, so let's get started with today's case. Ray Frank Gricar was born on October 9th, 1945 in Cleveland, Ohio. He grew up in the Collingwood neighborhood, and he did have a brother named Roy. He eventually went to college at Case Western, which is a huge school. It's kind of hard to get into, and he studied law. Ray was known to be very smart, very kind, respectful. He had a dry wit to him, and he was very passionate about his job, his career, what he wanted in life. He would eventually get married, and in 1979, him and his wife would move to State College, Pennsylvania, and begin their life there. His wife was offered a job at Penn State University as a professor. The couple would adopt a daughter named Laura, and Ray would actually stay home with his daughter, kind of like a stay-at-home dad while his wife worked. He took some time off of his job, and he just dove right into parenthood. Ray would eventually go back to work, and he was actually elected district attorney in 1985. And the county he was elected for was Central County in Pennsylvania. Now, being a district attorney is a very difficult position in general. The job itself is difficult, and it's a difficult position to get. Ray was the DA for 4 terms, which is years and years of hard work. And being a district attorney means that he was responsible for all felony prosecutions in that county. And he also had a staff of district attorneys under him. Ray was in office for a very long time, 20 years. So he had plans for retirement soon. It's 2005, and in April, he was just 9 months away from retirement. Ray's personal life was seeming to be okay. He would divorce his first wife, he would remarry, and that relationship only lasted 5 years. They would get divorced, and then he would start dating a woman from his office named Patty. Around this time period, his daughter was all grown up. She was on the other side of the country, I believe, for school. And so Ray just lived a low-key life with a high-profile job. He was known to be very private because when he went out in public, most people knew him. And going out in public was risky. Not too risky, but you're dealing with people who could have a vendetta against you. You prosecute a lot of criminals, and they might not like that. So Ray kept his life very private. But that didn't stop him from enjoying his Cleveland Browns, and at the time Cleveland Indians, which is now Cleveland Guardians baseball team. And actually, in the 90s, Ray disappeared for about a day. He didn't tell anybody where he went. And this caused his family, his friends, and the police to worry. Ray would eventually turn back home and he's like, sorry, I went to Cleveland to watch a game. And he could tell how frightened and worried everybody was about him. And he made a promise to everybody, family, work, the police, that I won't do that again. I will make sure I tell everybody where I am. So on April 15th, 2005, when Ray didn't return home from what he was going to do that day, his girlfriend Patty was very worried. Although he did this in the 90s, he made a promise to never do this again. And on this day in 2005, something just didn't seem right about Ray not coming home. So we are going to be talking about the day of April 15th, 2005, when Ray disappeared. That morning was normal. His girlfriend Patty, they shared a home together. This was actually Patty's childhood home. Ray moved in there with her, and they had a good relationship. Nothing seemed bad, and they actually shared a dog named Honey. So that morning, Ray told his girlfriend that he was not going to work. It was a Friday, and a few weeks leading up to this day, Ray seemed a little bit more tired. He took more naps. I mean, he was getting ready to retire. So on this day, he was just going to play hooky. Take the day off. It's Friday. Why not? Patty just told Ray, make sure you take the dog out and we'll go from there. So about 11:30 a.m., Patty receives a phone call from Ray saying that he is on Route 192 and that he's not going to be home to let the dog out. So Patty's like, okay, that's fine. Nothing seemed abnormal. Ray seemed cool, calm, collected. Patty did not find it unusual that Ray was just out driving. He was known to do this often to clear his head. I mean, he had a really hard job, and most people like to go to drives to just clear their head. And when I hear this, that Ray is known to take drives, I think that's obviously okay. But it also makes me wonder, in my opinion, was he doing a certain activity, but just telling people he was just clearing his head? And we'll go back to this because it will make sense in the end. Patty would eventually return home from work. Ray was not home yet. This didn't worry her yet. She would do some errands. When she returned home from that, Ray was not home. By 11 p.m., that's when Patty was really, really worried. She contacted the police and the investigation begins. On April 16th, just one day after Ray went missing, his car was found in Lewisburg near an antique mall. His car was parked kind of in a gravel parking lot. Ray was not there. His car was locked, and the car he had was a red Mini Cooper. This car actually belongs to Patty, but Ray mostly drove it. And Mini Coopers during this time were not popular. It was kind of a weird car, and actually there was only 3 registered Mini Coopers at this time in Pennsylvania. So his car stuck out like a sore thumb, and his car was red. So people knew this was obviously Ray's car. Well, technically Patty's, but Ray drove it. So when they see this car in the parking lot, they're like, ding, ding, da ding. Lewisburg, where his car was found, was 45 minutes away from his home that he shared with his girlfriend Patty in Center County. I want to point out that Ray moved in with Patty in 2002, so he had lived there for about 3 years. And I mean, he lived in Central County for a very long time, but what was actually special about this house was it was only about a mile and a half away from the courthouse where he worked. All right, so Ray's car. It was locked. Ray was not in it or near it. And by the time the officers got to Ray's car, it was starting to get dark. When they observed the car, it seemed like there was already a layer of dust on it, meaning the car must have been sitting there for probably about 12 hours. Now, when they flashed their little lights into Ray's car, they could see nothing crazy. They did see a cell phone in the compartment in the front of the car by the, front seat. It was locked. They couldn't get into it. Eventually, they would actually have to call a locksmith to come unlock this car because, again, this car was not popular. Their maneuvers to get it open were not working. So when the locksmith came, he was able to unlock the car with whatever gadgets he had. And he was actually the first one to open the car and smell the car. And that's very important. So Ray's car would eventually be taken to be fingerprinted, finger dusted, see what is up with if there's any evidence in his car. I was very curious about the gravel pit area, parking lot. It seemed like there wasn't any foul play, meaning there wasn't really any drag marks. There was no blood, obviously. It didn't look like a struggle occurred. It literally looked like someone parked there and left. Unfortunately, there wasn't even footprints near the car. So that doesn't help investigators at all. Not only was Ray not in the car, but his wallet wasn't there. His laptop wasn't there. It was his job's computer. They gave it to him. It was a Central County issued laptop, meaning that all of his work stuff is on this laptop. The charger wasn't there. The case wasn't there either. Eventually, they would find out that the charger and case was at Ray's home. Also at Ray's home was all of his stuff. Clothes, luggage, I'm assuming passport. All of Ray's belongings was at home. He did not take one thing with him to Lewisburg. The only thing he took with him was his cell phone, his wallet, and his laptop. That's it. A lot of witnesses would come forward seeing Ray the day he disappeared. One of the most noteworthy ones is a woman working in the museum. She could see a man from her window park. This man drove a red Mini Cooper. He would park. She would go about her normal activity. She'd look back, car was gone. Cool. Minutes later, she'd see the car come back again, but park in a different spot. This man, she matched as Ray. She said, "This was the man I saw." Ray seemed to be pacing back and forth outside of his car. She believes that he was waiting for someone and that he kind of seemed a little bit agitated. She did not see him talking on his cell phone, but her co-workers observed that Ray was either talking to himself or he had an earpiece in. I don't know, or we don't know if Ray had a Bluetooth ear device. There was another witness that saw Ray, and this actually occurred in the shop that they owned at the antique mall. Like an antique, it's a cluster of antique shops. I'm very interested in it. I love antiquing. It looks like a very cute place. This person said while they were working, Ray came into the store, and of course when people come into your store, you want to welcome them. "May I help you? Let me know if you need anything." Ray seemed a little bit dismissive. When the person tried to talk to Ray, he covered his ear in motion like, "Hey, sorry." Workers said that was fine. They could tell that Ray seemed a little bit busy with himself. And Ray actually went to the back of the store and he stayed there for a few minutes. This worker said Ray came back, was looking out of the window, and he left. There's also a few other sightings. A man and a woman, I'm assuming a married couple, saw Ray that day also at the antique shopping area, and they observed Ray with a woman. This woman was tall, brunette, and she had a blonde streak in her hair, This blonde streak would frame her face, and nothing seemed abnormal about Ray and this woman. Now, I want to make it clear that people close to Ray believe that he was not with a woman that day. At first, law enforcement believed Ray ran off with a woman. I don't know why they believe this. Maybe because of his age and paired with the sighting of Ray with a woman. Maybe two and two put together, Ray ran off with a woman. But friends and family are like, that's not what happened to Ray. Near where Ray's car was a very known river. This river was known to be shallow, so the search for Ray was not only on foot, but they went near the river to make sure Ray wasn't in need of help or if he sadly took his own life by jumping into this river. This was spring of 2005, and this river is known to be very shallow. There was no flooding near this date, so the water level was not high. And the witnesses said that the river this day, they could see how low the water was. And if someone jumped into this river, they most likely would break their legs and obviously call for help. And if this person was deceased in the river, they could probably see this person. Investigators would still search for Ray in the water. They did not find Ray in the water. They checked into him taking a flight somewhere. No plane ticket. They checked hotels. No hotels in his name. But I am curious about the hotels in the area. Did they check to see about a woman, possibly, that Ray could have known? Or if, I know it's hard to tell if someone used a fake name, but I would really love to see, obviously it's private, but if they really looked into who checked into a hotel near Lewisburg that day. One of the workers in the antique shop that saw Ray that day, Ray did not purchase anything, so there was no record of him buying anything. So with the witness sightings, how do we really know if Ray was there? Well, there was no surveillance. There's no cameras to prove Ray was in this antique shop. Obviously, there's no ATM or cash receipt of any kind. The only way to prove Ray was actually there was his car. His car was parked literally near the antique shop. So that's the only way we can believe if he was in the shops, maybe with a possible woman. Investigators would find out that Ray did some searches, I'm assuming Google searches at home, on how to wipe a hard drive. Get rid of some data on his laptop. He also searched about water damage to a laptop. So it seems like Ray needed to get his computer off the grid, fry that stuff up, make sure no one can see what is on this computer, what's on it. There is years and years of cases on that laptop, and maybe a very popular scandal that would come to a light in 2011. We'll get into that a little bit later. His computer at home showed that Ray also searched for directions on MapQuest from where he lived to Lewisburg. And a lot of people found this very odd because Ray was known, he knew Lewisburg. He went there all the time. The antique place. He loved antiquing. Ray was known to be an antiquer. So people thought this was odd because why would he need MapQuest? So with this MapQuest thing, did he print it out to give it to someone else? Because maybe they might have not known where Lewisburg was. Was he possibly meeting up with someone there? Investigators would also find out about Ray's brother, Roy. Back in 1996, Ray's brother, Roy, took his own life in a similar situation that they found Ray in. Roy took his life by jumping into a body of water after telling his family he was going to buy mulch. Ray's car was found near the river, but they couldn't find Ray in the river. Investigators, they don't really have a lot to work with in Ray's case. They do have his car, and the only thing really suspicious about Ray's car is that they noted that when they opened the door that it smelled like smoke. And they found ash on the floor in the front area. They found this extremely alarming because Ray did not smoke. Ray hated the smell of smoke. He didn't want people smoking near him. He didn't let people smoke near his car, in his car. So it was odd that the car smelled like smoke and that there was ash in the car. Some believe that maybe someone else was in his car with him that day. When I hear that Ray was like, get that thing away from my car, it must have been someone that he couldn't tell no, you know? What is also weird about the car is that the locksmith, who actually was the first person to open this car, said the car did not smell like smoke. It actually smelled like a new car. You know, that new car scent? Why are police saying that it smelled like smoke if possibly it didn't? Inside the car, there were no fingerprints found. There was only one, and it was smudged on the water bottle, and it was too far messed up to test who this fingerprint belonged to. But allegedly, there was no fingerprints found in this car, which is odd because there should be fingerprints in this car. So why were there allegedly no fingerprints found in the car? Did someone wipe his car down? A few months later, in July, Ray's laptop would be found, and it was found in the nearby river. Unfortunately, there was too much water damage to it to get anything from this computer. That includes fingertips, obviously, because the water has washed the fingerprints off the laptop. The hard drive is missing from this laptop, and it's not from the damage from the river. Someone took this hard drive off, popped it off. Where's the hard drive? Eventually, his hard drive would be found a few months later in a different part of this river, but again, unfortunately, nothing can be found off of this hard drive. Seems like someone took the hard drive off the laptop, threw it this way in the river, and threw it that way in the river. Or maybe they, threw it at the same time and it went in the different direction. But this just causes another puzzling piece to this case. Ray did not seem depressed in his final weeks leading up to his disappearance. Again, that doesn't mean that he wasn't depressed. The woman sighting with Ray, the laptop, it's all very bizarre. Trust me, it gets more puzzling. Being a DA meant that Ray dealt with very high crime. He dealt with a lot of criminals, and they looked into the possibility that someone wanted to get revenge on Ray. This did not lead them to anybody. There would be more sightings of Ray. Over 300 tips came in, and the most crazy one I found was that someone saw Ray in the audience of Oprah's show. Obviously, it was not Ray. Witnesses said they saw Ray at Chili's. Turns out not to be Ray. A retired police officer said he saw Ray at a bar in Pennsylvania, but again, this person was not Ray. Ray also had a lot of money in the bank. He had, I believe, $100,000 in the bank untouched, meaning it sat there after Ray disappeared. What is bizarre about Ray is that back in 1998, he actually came across Jerry Sandusky. And if you don't know who Jerry Sandusky is, he is now behind bars for being a monster. He was found guilty of disgusting acts towards children, okay? I'm going to give a little timeline about Jerry. In 1969, Sandusky was hired as Penn State football assistant coach. I'm not much of a football person, but I know this is a big deal. Penn State was popping in these times. So he's been working there for a couple of years, and in 1971, it was alleged that Sandusky sexually assaulted a child, and this family was too scared to come forward because they received a threatening phone call. But in 1998, a mother just knew something was wrong with her son. Her son came home, his hair was wet. She found this odd. Why is your hair wet? Turns out that Sandusky made this little boy take a shower with him. Obviously, the mom knows this is very inappropriate. She took action. She wants to know more, make sure this never happens again. You made my son feel uncomfortable. There's no reason why a grown-ass man needs to shower with a child. And this is where Ray comes in. Ray is the district attorney. He needs to know more in order for him to press charges against Sandusky. Ray conducts an investigation. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of evidence. Sandusky gets off scot-clean. You're probably asking why Sandusky was allowed to be with children. He works in football. Why are there little kids at this faculty? Well, in 1976, Sandusky actually founded a nonprofit organization called The Second Mile. And this nonprofit organization was for underprivileged children or youth, providing help for them and their families. These families were not in the best situation, and this organization could help them, can lead them to the right path. I really wanted to know more about this Second Mile organization, and I found a pamphlet from 2005. And on it, I'll put a picture in, but it's a picture of Jerry with a little boy. So under this picture of Jerry with a child, it says the mission statement, quote, "The Second Mile challenges young people to achieve their potential as individuals and community members by providing opportunities for them to develop positive life skills and self-esteem, as well as by providing education and support for parents and professionals addressing the needs of youth." When I read this, you want to go, aw. But when you find out that in 2011, Jerry is arrested and charged for all these child abuse stuff, sexual child abuse stuff, you think it sounds more like, allegedly, a grooming program for this sick and twisted man. I mean, at one point, this foundation served over 100,000 children. So to tie up this Sandusky thing, could Ray have been working on trying to get charges pressed against Sandusky because he knew that Sandusky was hurting children, and he just needed that one thing to be able to charge him? Allegedly, in 2004, just 1 year before he disappeared, Ray actually took a lunch with a friend near the Penn State University entrance, and after lunch, they were walking. Allegedly, Ray pointed out a man to his friend. He said, "You see that guy over there?" Friend's like, "Yeah, I see him." Ray said, allegedly, "That's Jerry Sandusky, and he is a child pedophile. And I'm going to take him down if it's the last thing I do." You can take that with a grain of salt, but it seems like Ray never forgot about Sandusky in 1998. Now, you could also spin the narrative about Ray. Maybe, although it seems like Ray could have been trying to put the right people behind jail, there is also another possibility that Ray could have been involved. There is no evidence supporting this. I personally do not believe this, but you have to look at it at both sides. Could Ray have disappeared because maybe he was involved in something and he did not want that information to get out? Do you remember me talking about the woman with the dark hair, blonde streak? This woman fit a description in Ray's life. Now, this woman has denied any involvement in Ray's disappearance and has said she was not with Ray that day. But this woman does fit the description about the woman seen with Ray the day he disappeared. Now, this woman, I'm not naming any names because she has not been named a suspect in this case publicly, but this woman, Ray has known for a very long time. He actually put in a reference for her for the job she went on to eventually do. And this woman's parents actually owned a shop in the antique shop strip. Now, this woman eventually went on to do other jobs if Ray was trying to build an investigation to someone, maybe he went to her asking for help, allegedly. Maybe this woman was not that woman at all. Maybe this woman was a mother from the Second Mile organization. Maybe this mom was too scared to come forward, but she trusted Ray. Leading up to Ray's disappearance, Ray was known to go antiquing. And a lot of people outside of Central County saw Ray at antique stores with other women, not fitting Patty's description. And they knew Ray. Was Ray meeting with moms from this organization to build a case? Or were these just women, Maybe he had friends. What makes me believe that the day he disappeared that it was not a mom he met with is because the witnesses that saw Ray said that he seemed a little bit agitated, and I don't think he would be agitated towards a mom that day. I don't think he would be frustrated. I mean, again, I don't know the circumstance. This is all just theories because we do not know what happened to Ray. None. Because Ray's case is so hard to solve without Ray's body, he was declared legally dead on July 25th, 2011. So with that, I am going to summarize each theory. I'm going to make a little list and we're going to go through it, okay? First theory, the Sandusky route. In 1998, he wasn't able to press charges. That fueled him to try to get a bigger case against Sandusky. All right, theory number 2. He ran off. It's possible. Maybe he did run off. He can start a new life if he wants to. Maybe he was into something too deep that he didn't want to get out. He had demons in his closet and he ran off. It's fine. He can run off and start a new life. But I don't think he would. He had a daughter he loved, Patty. Honey, his dog? No. Maybe witness protection. That's where I'm leaning towards, honestly. I think he's in witness protection. I mean, he's a DA. He knows something. Maybe something hit the fan and he had to go into witness protection. Or he ran off with another woman. However, friends and family don't think that. Number 3, he took his own life. The river would have shown signs of that. So I don't think that's what happened. Number 4, foul play. The most popular theory. Was he at the wrong place at the wrong time? Unlikely. It seems like Ray might have been involved in a cat and mouse game with maybe a blackmail situation, because why was he in Lewisburg that day? Maybe he trusted the wrong people with info he found. Maybe he told someone that, hey, I found this information on this certain case, and those people didn't want the information to get out, so that person took care of it. His car didn't show signs of foul play. There's no blood. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Police don't believe that it had anything to do with the Sandusky case, but we don't know. We just don't know. That is going to be it for today. I really want to know what you guys think. I know I kind of just went off the rails, but I just found this case so bizarre. I feel like there's a lot of missing puzzle pieces, and a lot of it is just, there's a lot of hearsay and witnesses and just a lot of stuff that goes a lot deeper that we may think. Maybe it could be nothing. But let me know what you guys think. If you haven't already, please subscribe if you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with a friend if you want to share it. And I will see you guys very soon. I hope you guys stay safe and stay golden.